Okay. Hi, my name is Darren. I'm a deployment engineer here. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to add a new application to Application Jukebox. In order to do this, we have a tool called Application Jukebox Studio. What we begin with is we take an ordinary installer such as your exe or MSI and we transform it into a format that can be streamed, which is an STP file, also known as an application package. This STP file is what we then copy over to our Application Jukebox server, and then it's ready to be deployed to all our end users. For this demonstration, I'll be taking a look at how to package Adobe Photoshop CS5. Unlike other virtualization technologies, a lot of the processing power is done on the client side. This eliminates the need for having expensive servers. So if the application can run on the end user's PC, then it'll have no problem running with Application Jukebox. Okay, so we're going to begin. All you need is a clean environment and to have Application Jukebox Studio installed and a copy of the installer that you want to package. This is just an ordinary installer that you can find by downloading it from the company's website or from a DVD if you were to purchase it in store. First off, I'm going to begin by launching Application Jukebox Studio. Okay, we click New to create a new project. First off, you're presented with a couple of fields asking you details about the application. The first one here is the full name. This is the name most commonly used for the application. So in our case, this would be Adobe Photoshop CS5. End users don't see the short name. This is partially used to identify the application on the server. So it can contain additional information that will only be seen by administrators and your IT personnel. So for example, I'm gonna use Photoshop V12 for version 12, which will identify and so this will be beneficial in case you want to do updates, or maybe when 12.1 comes out, then you'll be able to know that, then you'll know that this is version 12.0. Next is the publisher name, and we're going to use Adobe, which is the company that published this application. The next two fields are application description and system requirements. These would normally include details about the application, normally what you would find on the back of the box or from the company's website. This is beneficial because you can contain all this information within the STP file, so you don't have to worry about it getting lost, or if you find this asset later on, you'll be able to identify it. Say, for example, you're packaging this application specifically for a specific department within your company. You can add additional details here. If Photoshop has a specific plugin, you can also add that information here to help you keep track of things. Operating system support. Here we can choose which operating systems this app set will run on. Since we're packaging on Windows XP, we can automatically select the Windows XP/2003 checkbox. Sometimes an application installer will be flexible enough in that we can check the Windows Vista 7/2008 box also. However, that's not always the case. Depending on the application installer, you may need to test the app set after it's packaged or add additional files and make some manual modification in order to get this app set to work on both operating systems. So for now, I'm just going to choose Windows XP. Application Jukebox has two virtualization modes, integrated and isolated. Integrated mode acts as if the application was locally installed. It will interact with all your other applications and the end user won't be able to tell the difference. Isolated mode is commonly found with virtualization technologies in that you're able to launch the application, but the application is hidden from the operating system. When you virtualize an isolated application, the user is able to launch the application, however the application isn't seen by the operating system or other programs. This prevents program conflicts, however at the same time it prevents the operating system from seeing file associations and desktop shortcuts. If you want to run Office 2003 and Office 2007 at the same time, isolated mode allows you to do this. The next option we have is data compression. Here we can decide how much compression we want to use for our STP files. It would be great if we could use the best compression all the time. However, the only downside to that is that it takes longer to create the application package. Since this is our first run, I'm just going to choose none so that we can create our application package as quickly as possible. The next option here is our configurable app events. Okay. One benefit here is that we're able to customize our application. What this option allows us to do is we can add a script at any point during the virtualization process. Once a user clicks the launch button, we can add a script at any time until the user decides that they want to remove the application. The script can do a variety of things, like check for a certain prereq is installed, prompt the user to accept the EULA, or to add a service. So in the case of Adobe Photoshop CS4, one important thing that they had was the FlexNet licensing service. In order to add this service, after virtualization, we could have a script that will automatically add this entry into the Windows services. Once we have finished with all the details, we can click Save and save our workspace file. And click Browse to our application installer. We're going to select our setup.exe, and now we're going to click the Launch button. Okay. We install our application as we normally would. Okay. During this process, Application Jukebox Studio is currently recording all the changes to, say, like the file system and the registry keys that are being created during this process. Okay. So right here we accept our license agreement. Normally this is where you would provide your serial number. Okay. Since we're just doing a demonstration, I'm going to select install this product as a trial. Right here, this is the only recommendation that would differ from a normal installation. We recommend that you install this application to the non-default directory and directory on your root drive. So in this case, I'm going to install to C:\Adobe Photoshop CS5. Okay, now that our Adobe Photoshop CS5 installer is finished, we click Done to end the installation process. Okay. Now here we have our Jukebox Studio, and we click OK to notify Jukebox Studio that our installer has finished. It's going to take a couple of seconds for the studio to record all the changes that it observed and store it in the workspace file. We can click on our Files tab, and here we can see all the information that Jukebox recorded. Here's all our files and folders, and one thing we have to set is the command line. So we browse to our Adobe Photoshop CS5 directory and we search for Photoshop.exe. We right click on Photoshop.exe and choose Set as Command Line. The command line specifies which executable launches as soon as the end user virtualizes the application. Okay. Once that's done, we can click Save. During this time, you can make any modifications you want to the file system or to any registry keys. During normal application deployment, one common thing to do is to add a registry key to disable updates or to disable a registration prompt. At this time, you could do that. Okay. Once you have finished making your modifications, you can click the Package button, and this will specify where you want your STP file to be saved. Here we can specify the name of the STP file and the output folder we want to save the STP. So I'm just going to save it to our desktop and click OK. And now at this time it's creating the STP file, so this will take a couple minutes. So now our Application Jukebox Studio has finished creating our application package. And if you notice on your desktop here, there's a photoshop.stp. This is the file that you would copy over to your server. One thing also that you notice is that Application Jukebox Studio gives you this warning message saying that there are non-fatal errors. This is just a warning. Usually this occurs when, say, the installer extracts temporary files that are no longer on the system. Since these were only temporary files and the installer deleted them, it's not necessary that they be a part of your package. We can just click OK and ignore that message. Okay, now that we have our STP file, we can copy it over to the repository of our server. Once we publish that application to our server, then anyone that has Application Jukebox Player installed on their system can access the server and stream down our application.